Well, here we are at Mount St. Joseph. This is the old building. I'm meeting Craig and Deb here today. This is a new building. And what we're going to do is we're going to examine the possibility of the Peterborough Spiritualist Centre coming to the Mount to hold our services. Anyway, as you can see, this is quite a staggeringly beautiful building. Brimming with character. I can't wait to go inside. We are about to begin the tour. Craig is here. Our guide is here. Don't quite know where Deb is. Anyway. Wow, I'm excited. You know, I love these round turret kind of add-ons.
Deb said she's coming, and then Mark, someone else is coming.
Yeah, Brad. Hey, Lisa, how you doing?
My whole face is frozen, so he's at the dentist. So I look like I've had a stroke, that's why. Yeah, Deb said to meet you guys here, so.
Okay, yeah, Brad said he might be coming too, so.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Awesome. Sounds good.
Hi, how you doing?
Good.
I'm Steve, you are?
John.
John. And you are our guide today?
Yes, I need a bit of background, but yes, I think that's the plan.
Okay, perfect.
And,
You came in off Monaghan here,
here's one again, okay.
and,
here we
I'm
go.
sorry, you came in here. I'm
That's
sorry.
right, so there's that other residence place
That's
that
right.
we went by, okay.
This is seniors,
Right.
non-profit housing.
And then the new,
This is the new convent.
right,
And so
the
you
circle
came in
drive.
here and through this circle drive, and right now, we're right in that spot right there. This building, it's a 132,000 square foot edifice on 10 acres of land. And the Mount Community Center, which is the organization that now owns the property, purchased it with the help of the Poverty Reduction Network. And we confirmed that sale in August of 2013. So we have owned the property, and we've actually been involved in it for longer, but we've actually owned the property for just over a year. So our plan at the present time, and we'll see some of this when we go on the tour, but our plan, we talk in terms of 3 wings, A wing, B wing, and C wing. Right now, we're here.
let's see, yeah, okay.
All right. Actually, where this turret is the room right across the road from here,
Okay.
across the hallway. So you came in this door, and we're right in here right now. So this is C wing. This is the oldest wing of the building. It was built, and we'll see this on the tour. It was built in 1869 as an estate for a magistrate. And this will give you a picture of the original farmhouse. So this was built in 1869, and of course at that time the city, I think, had maybe 15,000 people. And I don't know if you follow the Examiner, but the Examiner on Saturday, Elwood Jones's article gave a very, very good overview of housing built around this time. And consequently, in 1911, and it's fascinating, if you're interested in the architecture, it's fascinating to see how the thing evolved. In 1904, the sisters built this addition, And as you can see, they put on an extra floor on top of the farmhouse.
Oh, okay, yeah, that's the same place.
So there's
right?
the original door, okay? Now, so this is what it looked like in 1904. These were built as residences and bedrooms. This, we'll see it when we go on the tour, but this was built as a convent, or as a chapel, and an additional space. It actually runs along the side of the building. So if you keep track, I'm fascinated by watching.
I was too during airing. They had these photos up, and it was just great going through and piecing the progression together.
Yeah, because you can see how, with a bit of creative engineering, they've tried to maintain a certain symmetry to the whole operation, even as it grew. The thing to remember is that this community of women was growing very quickly. And they, besides running the hospital, were invited to start operating schools. So what you have here, given the times, if you think about it, in the early 1900s, you had a community of professional women who were busy at work in the community, in nursing and in teaching. And as a result of that work, they had all the skills that you would expect: administrators, trained financial people. They were really a very, very busy, active community. And then in addition, they were also serving missions around the world and throughout Canada. So they had convents across Canada, in the north, as well as in eastern Ontario, right down to the Quebec border, and then also in service around the world. And the last woman who was on overseas duty has just, in fact, come back to Peterborough in the last, where's that? Had come back to Peterborough.
There's one on the bottom, I think, the aerial photo.
Yeah, where is it?
It's right at the bottom.
There it is, good, yeah. There's that one. That one. Where's your other one, Andy?
I'm not sure.
Anyways,
The missing one.
we can show you on this. So we're right here, right now. This was 1911. And then they built the big chapel, which a lot of people are familiar with, in 1934. And that included quite an addition through here. And again, their numbers were continuing to grow, so they built another residential wing in 1952 here. And then, because some of the sisters by this time were, some of these folks were starting to age and becoming infirm, and this part of the building was becoming less useful for them, they built this large residential wing here in 1969, which included this very large dining room, a swimming pool in the early 80s, and what the sisters called the academic wing, because, as I said, a lot of their women were teachers who were at retirement from teaching but still wanted to work, operated what in fact was a school, an academic wing here. And there are quite a few people in the community who completed their secondary school education by coming here. So that's a bit of the history of the thing. And now I should explain that this.
I just want to take, did you want to show the aerial shot?
I showed that
Okay.
just before you got here.
Okay.
For personal context, this is the house I spent my childhood in.
Oh, no kidding.
Where
Right here in the
So we
corner?
can't
Yeah,
get
my parents bought that
money.
house because I was
Here's the
from
loop
along.
in front
Yeah.
here.
So
Yeah,
your
I just
surname
wanna-
is Woolley? Of course.
Yeah,
You're Ivan's son.
you're John's dad.
That's right. John's dad. Greg and Mike's dad.
Oh, cross-threaded.
That's all right.
Okay, so any connections to the Woolly building down there too, or what?
That's the woolen.
Woolen.
Woolen mills, they made wool stuff, like wool,
Yeah,
fabric.
quite
But I did go there for nursery school.
Yeah, so did Greg and Mike.
There we go.
There you go, small worlds. That's kind of the overview, but what I was going to say is that this wing here, the 1969 wing, is now under construction for apartments. And I'm not sure, were you planning to go there today?
No, we can, but,
Because it's under construction, we have to insist that you have hard hats and work boots and steel-toed boots and so
What
on.
about the academic wing there? Is that still?
All this is being converted into apartments.
It is, okay.
So there will be 47 apartments here. And the pre-construction work on those apartments is pretty well finished now, and we're just getting ready to move into construction. And
Keeping the pool?
no, it's too expensive.
Yeah.
However,
There was talk of using it in the heating plant, wasn't there?
yes, and if, like you were talking about, interested in various therapeutic treatments, if there were a group of individuals, companies, businesses interested in collaborating and running this as a therapeutic pool, they could. It's equipped with a ramp and hoists because it was intended to provide a therapy environment for the aging sisters. So it's a possibility, but we don't at this point intend to do anything with it. Any other immediate questions before we?
So everything else has been renovated then?
It's
Nothing else has been renovated.
Oh, okay.
All our
Okay.
energy and all our resources have been placed on here.
I see.
However, we've hired Andy for 4 years to help us lead us in the development of this area. And consequently, we've been meeting with a lot of groups such as yourselves to explore possibilities, give you a sense of where we're at, and we call this initial tour, just so you know what we're at. We have a process that we follow, and we call this initial tour the kicking the tires tour. It's important to keep in mind that, well, a couple of things. First of all, it is not in any way relate to the Catholic Church or the Catholic environment. It's totally secular, independent operation. However, the sisters have been very strong supporters, and part of our mandate is to work in whatever way we can to continue the service that the sisters were doing in the community, but again, in a non-sectarian, secular way. The other thing I think it's important to stress is that as a private non-profit board with charitable status, we have a major challenge of making sure it pays for itself over time. So any arrangement or any deal that we enter into subsequent to this kicking the tires tour we would accept one or two more specific tours to specific areas if you wanted to come back. But at a certain point, because of Andy's time, and we would after maybe the second or third visit, we would be expecting a letter of interest that would outline in more detail your own specifications, your own interests, your own needs, and so on. And at that point, then based on that letter of interest, we would be working and negotiating with you towards a letter of commitment. So that there's a clear cut, and there's no timeline. We don't anticipate that this work will, well, we've given ourselves a 5-year timeline to be fully developed. Sections of this, as you'll see when we go on the tour, could be developed very quickly. So we're in the process of negotiating with quite a number of organizations who are prepared to accept our mission and and the kind of criteria that we will be discussing as we move along. And working towards, as I said, a letter of interest and then a letter of commitment. At which point then we start putting names on signatures and signing the deal, as it were. But as I said, no hurry. I think we're looking at, what, year and a half, 2 years probably, before we feel that we'll be ready. Now that doesn't mean that portions of the building can't be used in the interim for different purposes. But keep in mind right now, there is no running water and there is no heat.
In B and C
In
wings.
B and C wings. We have one functioning washroom.
This being C, center section being B, and this section being A. So we have heat and water in A right now, and we're mapping out a plan to get heat throughout the building.
In fact, we may have made that decision by the end of this week.
Yeah. So I might have missed, I may have missed an initial roundtable, and I apologize if I did, but have you, Craig, already summarized to John what
Yeah.
okay, I missed that. Darn.
Did you want to hear it again, really quickly?
Would you mind?
Okay, so there's 4 different not-for-profits that I was interested in. That's why I kind of looked into here. So one aspect is the Peterborough Spiritual Center, and there's Steve and Reverend Lisa and Deb. We're all board members of the Spiritual Center.
Reverend Lisa? Deb?
Deb.
Yeah.
And Steve.
Steve?
Right. And if there's a possibility of outgrowing our space now, this just came to mind. I thought we'd check it out, right?
Right.
I'm also with By the Bushel,
Right.
which is a community food co-op. And this is Ally. She's our general manager. And we need to find a new space by spring to open up a local food store. And the possibility of preparing foods really comes up a lot. So we're trying to keep open to this.
That's a complete and perfect alignment with the Mount's mission and vision.
Yeah. I was going to say, what kind of apartments, who are they geared to? They're rented?
We're developing a mixed income
Okay.
package. With the way, it's a bit of a balancing act, and so it's kind of hard to explain, but we're committed to overall 90% of market. But in order to reach that, a percentage of the units have to be at market. So we have a combination of bachelors, 1 bedrooms, and a small number of 2 bedrooms. But that's only in here.
Yeah.
The long-term plan, like we're talking several years down the road, there would be the upper 2 floors of B and C wing would have apartments as well.
So it's mixed community, market rent
Okay.
and less than market rent.
Right.
So the third organization, the Spiritual
Well,
Center.
I'm also a teacher with Therapeutic Touch, so more
Right.
of the energy healing aspect. So looking for not only a place to have our service, but also like rooms to run workshops and meditations and so on and so forth. And Mark here, he's involved with By the Bushel with us too.
Perfect. Great.
The last aspect was with Transition Town Peterborough. We run a health and wellness show called Dandelion Day, and
Yes.
we kind of at our capacity this year. It's an indoor-outdoor event, so there's another aspect that down the road we can be doing something like that.
Super.
So, I'm sorry.
Oh, just going to mention that we do have a very active, what we call food hub committee that is working hard right now to restore that commercial kitchen back to its original glory. So I imagine that'll be a part of the tour. We're going to take a peek at the kitchen, just have an open mind when you go in there and know that there's folks working behind the scenes to bring that back.
As a matter of fact, I should mention that we see this whole project developing through 5 centers or hubs. Housing, food, art and culture, health and social service, and looking at the whole picture physically as well as beyond the building, environmental sustainability. So those, and we have in the background, as Andy said, a very, very active team of really interesting folk, developing each of those 5 centers. And the team, there are 17 members on that committee, and each within the committee there have been leaders who have agreed to take on the leadership of each of those 5 centers, but at the same time kind of working together in a synergistic way.
So a next step after today's meeting, what I would, if you go in the kitchen and look at the space and think this would work for us, I'd love to connect you with our food hub committee. So, but anyway, okay, perfect. Thanks for reintroducing everyone.
Okay? So unless you have other questions, we can now do some touring.
Kick the tires.
Just one quick question. How much of the total space are you going to leave for expand, like for people to do events and that kind of
We're
stuff?
not sure.
Okay.
How much of the space?
Well, the Peterborough Spiritualist Centre runs a psychic fair every year in the Lions Hall, and we're outgrowing
see.
that. And I'm just wondering how much is going to be of the overall space will be left to put on larger events or.
Well, the chapel, it will be a major
Well,
performing
and
arts.
possibly the auditorium.
Right,
The
so there's
auditorium,
a couple of big spaces.
The green
Yeah.
spaces, yeah.
As you'll see
left
when we
open
go on the tour,
to
there are
flex it.
1, 2, 3, there are 4 or 5 fairly large open spaces on this floor that we're considering public assembly spaces.
And remaining as such, not to be leased out to a not-for-profit organization to create offices. We want to have those communal spaces at the Mount. So you'll see, that can be shared by many users.
And
Fantastic.
the other part of that, of course, and I think you understand, they have to generate revenue. Because as far as we know, other than the money that we're generating through our own efforts, there will be no government subsidies for the kind of thing we're talking about here. Our research so far, this Hub Development Committee has a subcommittee within it that is working really hard to develop a long-term strategic plan. And we have coaching calls every other week and a weekly meeting, and we're struggling to identify some of the questions that we need to raise with the board. But just, and that's also probably worth your while knowing, we have a board of 9 people, and then this advisory, or this Hub Development Committee is likely going to be identified as the advisory group to the board. And going forward, what our research has shown us to this point is that, well, there are examples of what we're trying to do here in bits and pieces. This is quite a unique initiative, and consequently, because of that reason, it's not readily eligible for a lot of grant money, and we really do have to build the case. And so partners and building and working together becomes really important. Okay?
Okay.
Yep.
Steve, please don't film the dust bunnies.
So, open for you. This wing was built, and it's here, was built to house the chaplain. The sisters had a resident chaplain here, and this was his apartment for many years. And then as things within the Catholic Church structure changed, it didn't become necessary for them to have a full-time chaplain, so this became the office of the woman who was in charge of the community. So these 2 rooms, this one and the one we were just in, could be used. As I said, we've had a number of groups interested in these capacity, these smaller spaces. We can't get in there because the door's locked and I don't have the key, but that's the turret. But there are three levels, 3 turret rooms, round rooms, and upstairs. So Okay, so this gives you a sense of this space.
Can I was involved with airing on
Yeah.
the big art thing that happened
Yeah.
here. So as we're walking around, you'll see stuff like on the walls, particularly in the hallway here. It's like one continuous art piece that Esther did that sort of tied the whole show together. So I'm sure we're gonna see lots of it. So I just thought
Yes.
I'd comment on it.
We keep being asked questions like, what is that
What
stuff?
is it? It's a huge, long, impressionistic art piece that she did to tie the whole show together.
This is just not the top of
That's what she said. I didn't know that detail.
This room we're using for storage right now, storing a bunch of donated office equipment. So this room has its own entrance, as you can see back there.
What would you call this room?
The sisters used it as a reception room, so we can call it that.
The reception hall, was it called?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I should explain, I had two aunts and my own sister, who were sisters of St. Joseph, and I'm very familiar with this building, both now because of my work with the Mount Community Center, but also because of my long-time history with the sisters. So a lot of the nitty-gritty information you may have questions about, I can probably answer.
But when John used to come to the Mount to visit
Yeah, we
his
visit.
family, that was the purpose of this room. We're in the front lobby of that farmhouse that was built in 1869. And it's the original door behind us, original staircase leading up to the second floor. And of course, you recall from the pictures, the 1904 edition put a third story on this farmhouse, right?
So just to orient you to the spaciousness of the original house, that arch was the northern wall of the farmhouse, and this wall here is the southern wall of the farmhouse. So this was the width. This room behind you here was the magistrate's office. And so I guess we'll go this way.
Sure.
Yeah.
This is a lovely room.
This was obviously the sitting room and parlor of the farmhouse. The sisters used it actually as their original chapel. And, but as I said earlier, their numbers increased quite quickly, so it quickly outlived its value. But then in later years, it was used as a visitor's room, but especially it became the room where, when a sister died, the body was waked here.
And I've never seen a spirit in this room, if any of you get a little queasy over that. John, I was thinking, while we're on this floor, perhaps we will show the Spirituality Center?
Sure.
Okay, before we move into the next edition.
Yeah.
So we're gonna backtrack a little bit. If you follow me, we're gonna go into a very special room.
It probably is quite cold because it's so still.
Have you ever been to the Red Cross House, London and Water? They have like a staircase like this one.
Just to orient you a little bit, a lot of these large rooms, as you'll see, when the sisters were here, they were in fact divided, just as a lot of high schools are divided into houses, and each of those houses had a name. They also had a large space to meet for recreation, for socializing, for spiritual growth, for reading, that sort of thing. So this was one of those spaces. And over the years, it was used, it became called the Spirituality Center, which consisted of this room and a couple of rooms upstairs. And the sisters gradually began to use it for public use. So they ran conferences, they ran retreats, lecture series, and gradually then when the building was sold, they moved away from this part of the building.
This space has a small kitchen that we walked through that will be redesigned. but it does have access to a kitchen and washrooms. And that kitchen will likely be shared by other non-residential tenants in the building. So do you remember the red room we were in, red ceiling room? So we would hope that the tenant living here will share the kitchen with the tenant living there, so we don't have to build out more kitchens, right? It's all about sharing resources and et cetera. So
Just a bit of architectural features, if you're interested in that. This floor is 3/4 inch maple, and the ceiling is 3/4 inch oak, both of which are considered heritage features, along with all the woodwork, along with the rads. So whether we use the rads or not is a moot point at this point, but they have to be here.
And again, in terms of a timeline, if you're looking for an accessible space, anything on the first floor would work. But the third elevator, which will make ceiling accessible, we don't know when that elevator will go in. Right. So the two rooms we've looked at, this room and the room with the red ceiling, both have an accessible entrance, just by virtue of being on the first floor.
And there is a door at the end of the corridor.
A single man door, right? There's no other way of getting into, getting product into there or something?
For food, are you talking about?
Yeah.
You're
outbuildings
really
back there.
far away from the kitchen right now, from the commercial kitchen. In terms of, if you were considering this kitchen, then,
Yeah, we don't necessarily need the people storing the kitchen together.
gotcha.
We can move the leftover.
There's a couple of interesting outbuildings too that would have, be able to drive a truck up to.
Okay.
Which probably aren't in your thinking at this point. It's
No.
just focused on the main building, but there they are with door with
Well,
the.
that, I was gonna say, that's more of like for what we.
The original farmhouse extended along over there.
What an incredible old building. Oh my God. Are you excited yet? How are you? Good. The carpet's
So
gone.
this would be that shared communal space that we will retain this room exactly as an open room for a whole host of community groups to use.
It's a good idea.
This was built, by the way,
That served as their chapel from 95 to 04 when we built this chapel. So, and then the third chapel, of course, is the largest addition.
So it's like, the timelines are really close.
and I was saying, I don't know if you saw Saturday's exam,
No?
but there's a wonderful article about the architecture of houses in this period, in that time period.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Oh.
it's very, very
Was the
nice.
mount mentioned?
No, because what he was doing was showing diagrams of some of the typical houses at the time.
Sure.
But you can see some of the same features here. That were
We walked past it. I don't know if you remember, we walked past it. So this functions.
The room started in, the door that John has back to is like straight at the other end of the floor.
Just wanted to. So, you know, it would be an easy fix to make that, to ramp it and make it accessible. I'm not sure how wide the door is. Yeah. Yeah.
This is a really interesting stairway to try and navigate, it ties together
Yeah.
two parts of the building.
Exactly.
There's like half stair, like 3 steps, 4 steps.
Yes,
Oh.
it's the most confusing place,
It is, yeah.
area in the mount. is
Where do I
right-
get off this ride?
Exactly. So I just wanted to show you that hallway.
Anyways, so this is a historic staircase, and again, it's heritage, so we can't do anything about it in
No, sure
terms of changing it, other than making sure it works. But when the sisters were here, that was a huge stained glass window. So when you came into the building, it was just an absolutely glorious thing to see.
After you.
No squeaking, nice and solid, isn't that amazing?
So, it's a good place to stop to see the site. The red brick building on our right is the coach house. It's being used now as a machinery room.
Bud Bushel is currently in a coach house.
Oh, you just moved out of Coach House.
Wow.
Yeah, that's right.
You might move there.
Joke.
And the other brick building with the smokestack was the powerhouse. When they built the 1934 chapel, which we will see eventually, they put the powerhouse in, and that provided heat and power to most of this part of the building.
It also holds the laundry.
And that's right, the boilers were in the boiler were in the basement, and the living room where the awnings are was the laundry. And the sisters provided their own labor and operated the laundry. And then the little window at the top was the entrance and the doorway into the stationary engineer's apartment. So there's a little 2-bedroom apartment up there. And if you're really adventurous, you can crawl on the tunnel that'll take you from the back of the big chapel over to the powerhouse. I wouldn't recommend it, but you're welcome to. And I was saying earlier, this is an extension of the original farmhouse. See, we're in the, to give you a sense of the size of that building, we're in the original farmhouse here. Now, I'll explain, and you can go on. If you go in, one of the things that the fire department insisted upon was that there be firewalls put in place. So for example, you'll see the arch there.
Oh, yeah.
It was closed in at the request of the fire department. And this white wall that's facing us is a firewall. So if you imagine it not being there and you go through that door, you will go into two quite large, what were original bedrooms. And again, the sisters used this area as a part of their spirituality center.
I know you keep thinking of all the stuff you've been doing. Oh.
Now, the sisters converted this, we assumed it was the master bedroom because of its size and location in the house. The sisters converted it as a kind of a prayer room, quiet reflection room. So when there were retreats to be held here, this was quite a lovely space for people that were looking for some meditation time.
My sister actually came here for silent retreats.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, not that long ago.
Yeah. Wouldn't be that long ago.
No.
Could be as, well, probably, they haven't been here since '09. This arch here.
I don't know if you can see how ornate these radiators are.
And I just finished explaining that it's our intent to keep this as a shared meeting room, workshop room, training day room.
The idea is that the non-residential tenants who are occupying space here would have a room like this of shared facilities, so it might have the photocopier.
To your left. Hospital ward.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, as the sisters age, they age at home.
Sort of what I remember being in like my elementary school, taking these kind of like those.
We're gonna go through here. And just because I want to show you that while it seems like a maze, it's easy, that activity room area is very easy to get to.
There you go, 263. A lot of rooms.
There's Ally.
Camera goes first.
Ally, there's a little glimpse of the big. Oh boy, here we go, eh?
Is to not use the pews. We want the seating to be flexible and accommodating to as many groups and functions as possible. So it is not our intent to have the pews in the chapel. We will be looking for alternative seating, seating that will lend itself to any organization or activity. So we are just in the process of restoring the altar. It used to be called an altar, but it's now what we call a stage. As John mentioned earlier, this is a fully decommissioned, sanctified church, so we can host any ceremony of any walk of life belief here.
Catholic term is desanctified.
Sorry, I always say desanctified. I always learn from you, John. So the altar is just being restored, or the stage rather, is just being restored. We have lifted the carpet, exposed a bunch of underlay and glue. So the underlay has now been removed, and we're now looking at figuring out a way to remove the glue to bring it back to its original glory, which is terrazzo and marble. You can't really see it right now from here, but
What would you call it?
we call it the chapel. Isn't it? You should hear people say
Yes.
yeah.
Again, depending on the seating.
But, I mean, this could very easily be a dance studio Monday, Wednesday, Friday afternoon. It could be rehearsal for a musical organization Tuesday and Thursday evening. It could be, we don't know. You know, there's so many possibilities.
So consider it as an open space, as an assembly space. Obviously, we will not be doing anything to intrude on the overall architectural look, except for the pews.
Wow.
So it gives you some idea, by the way, if you think about that room that I said was the original chapel, and then by 1934, they had built this. So as I said, their numbers were growing.
This is where the choir sang, right here. And if you look up, the sisters were so ahead of their time by the decade. That was an accessible viewing area for the sisters who were infirm to attend Mass. So they could be, yeah, I mean, as you can see, it looked like a hospital ward, right? It's the infirmary. So the sisters who were very elderly could still attend mass, and they would get wheeled out into that area when needed, when wanted and needed.
We're actually gonna go downstairs from here.
Pause on the.
Anybody want to see the chapter from this level?
It was a one-time article. It was a one-time thing, and it was actually the second one. The other previous one was like 20 years ago. You've been working with it since that.
Loving restoration.
Watch your steps.
One cycle chapel, another site. Yeah, and so there were stories about one girl walking around.
Yeah. So every Wednesday. Oh my God. No, it's the first time you come on here. It's just music. Yeah.
I had to kind of gather myself and kind of like help me out. But it still looks like
Oh yeah, we have to come every morning at a tango.
oh, that, yes. Maintenance too.
So obviously nothing will be done to change this configuration because it'll serve the needs of what's ever going on in the space.
But there's
Before they-
a little plumbing infrastructure back there.
Yeah.
Or for need be. All water is over.
Look at this, the wood. No plywood in here. No particle board. This is the real deal. Hardwood floors. Little nooks. Radiators everywhere. Of course they had their own power. They had their own power. And there we are. The dandelion.
Lower step wasn't there.
So is this all stone underneath?
It's all marble.
Terrazzo, and then the marble step. So they built out a false stair right here. That's hollow. And dusty rose carpet. Yeah.
Pretty spectacular.
It's original, but it's so we stopped here, and the organization needs to decide: do we want to go back to this 1934, or do we want to keep the staircase? All good. All good. This would be such a. Oh, I know. Yeah. We had the Strombellas in here a few weeks ago, and they're. Yeah, they did a video here, and they just launched it on YouTube.
I was just thinking that it would be great, like, sort of for a music video or something like that.
We've done a number of videos here. We charge a nominal fee to people who want to do. We've had a lot of photographers through here doing photo shoots, videographers. The Strombellas.
So, yeah, it's,
So we're on the second floor we're actually above the auditorium with the room with the 6 pillars. We're directly above it right now. And this is a good opportunity to see what we mean by B wing and A wing. So we're at the very southern end of C wing. And if you look through the windows, you'll see B wing, which is the center section, sort of the yellowish brick. And then A wing directly across. So A wing is where the apartments are going. And you'll actually see a change of color in the brick. The darker brick represents the 1934 edition. The lighter brick is the 1952, where the commercial kitchen is. So we're heading in that direction right now.
And if you notice that white door down there, that, eventually that will be the main door into the whole complex.
Okay.
And that whole area will be redeveloped. We'll see it when we go downstairs.
And you're gonna leave this as another area, like an open area?
We're not
or-
sure.
We're not sure, and the reason we're not sure is that we haven't had sufficient indication from organizations what they're looking for. Could be left open. We'll be renting on the square foot basis. So that's something to keep in mind as well.
And also, just something to keep in mind, we went through a maze to get here, but there's a very easy way to get to
I was
this
gonna
space.
say, yeah,
It's
it's
through those
confusing.
doors and
Okay.
up 2 sets of stairs. So we'll show you that now.
So we imagine that these will be offices.
So we're right in the middle of the located return of, so this will be obviously the main food truck area. There's 3 walk-in storage and coolers and freezers. 4 actually, 1, 2, 3. And this area here will be, there'll be a long counter, probably out to here, about this wide, where you would prep, assembly and prep. This will be likely a baking area, baking,
Fruitcake.
yeah. Yeah. So there'll be a glass wall here so that you can see what's going on. And this will be sort of a small social enterprise cafe of some kind, we're not sure yet. We see 6 or 7 tables here, folks coming in having coffee. And we also envision right here, this will be open, by the way, this is just sealed off for.
The doorway to the other big wing.
Right, so this will be actually a sort of a thoroughway, or a hallway for the folks who live in the apartments to come access the kitchen for programming, for the canning courses, the harvesting courses. We have tilled a 2,000 square foot garden and are ready for a spring plant. We're partnering with Peterborough Horticultural Society are going to help us manage and plan that plant. We don't know yet if the kitchen will be ready to accept a harvest in the fall, but we know we'll find good homes for that food to go. So this would probably be some kind of a counter here where maybe sandwiches or soups or something are sold, who knows, fruit.
See,
That
the growers
is-
of that garden, they could be producer members for By the Bushel.
Well, that's it, right?
Talk
By the
about
bu-
alt-
by the
talk
bushel,
about
by
alt-
having 12 or 14 producers could provide a richer produce set.
Talk about ultra local.
Yeah, in terms of drop-off, pickup, there's a service, John, where is the service? There's a service
Yeah.
entrance.
Yeah,
Just
just
a
right
very
out
truck
through
entrance
here.
on this side.
So that, I think, is what you're seeking, I think,
Yeah, that's what we would be seeking.
right?
And we'd probably need, yeah,
I'll show you here.
so how does that, I'm just wondering how that links to like the red room space and things like that in terms of where that is on the layout.
Well, very opposite end.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, it was used as a service entrance.
Walk-in coolers.
This must be the cafeteria.
Looks like a dishwashing area.
Yeah, if we were getting into selling prepared foods,
Yeah.
or, and this is the thing, there's so many possibilities how we do this, right? Whether we have agreement that we have food for the people here, or,
Do you
whether we prepare it and
Do you provide education and training? So can you invite some folks maybe who are living in affordable
Well,
housing
workshop
units?
stuff, right?
Workshops,
Well,
yeah?
yeah, see, all our farmers, they usually we have a farm tour, so you go to the farms and you can see and learn, and you can volunteer with them too, and learn about organic gardening and stuff like that, but also about, we have over 400 members, and a lot of them have these skills. Now, right now, they're kind of showcased through Transition Town on a monthly basis, the local herbalists, or the canning of stuff, or making bread, or cheese, or whatever it is. But yeah, we definitely, that was part of our thing, we haven't really got into it because, getting into the store was a big move for us and stuff like that, right? But yeah, offering those types of workshops, that's definitely in the cards for
See,
sure.
from our point of view, that's the kind of model that we're working with. Partly because of our zoning, but also because it satisfies our sense of a sustainable village.
Community, yeah, absolutely. Learning all those old skills again, for sure.
Wow, this is a big room.
Is an organization that provides programming and care for the elderly. And so their expected move-in date is May.
So it would be, say, like Alzheimer's would use
Yeah,
Yeah.
very much could be, yeah. Mhm. So we can't release who the tenant is
Yeah,
yet,
yeah.
but, yeah, so we're really excited to partner with that organization.
And that's what you're looking for, right? That's
Yeah.
cool, right?
Yeah.
Something like that.
So yes, I imagine a lot of their clients would be in the advanced stages of, or not necessarily advanced of.
Like a daycare almost, that's.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, for adults.
And it's nice and bright and.
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
Yeah. That, what's unique to this space is they will also provide overnight, 4 beds for overnight care.
Wow.
Yeah. Respite, yeah.
That is cool.
Yeah.
So there must be a washroom there.
There will be 1 washroom with 3 facilities. You got back in just in time. Oh, sorry, let me put my back to you. Fully accessible washroom with like a shower bay.
I think male and female,
Yeah, and actually you're standing in the washroom area. Right now, this is the dishwashing area for the kitchen, but it will be relocated.
And you'll do that for me.
We're working. Hi, I tried to call you to say we're here.
Okay, I'll get rid of my little friend here.
Oh, I was
standing on it.
I was gonna pick him up for you.
That reminds me.
So, the next step is we are going to have a company remove the ceiling tiles because they have they're asbestos-based ceiling tiles. Once that is done, we will have work crews in here very, very soon, just freshening up the space, if you know what I mean, removing the peeling paint, hopefully putting a bright coat of paint on just to clean the space a bit, you know? And also in the meantime, we're negotiating with, as I said, with the restaurant owner who currently owns all of the Mounts kitchen equipment. So that was really exciting that we were able to find that kitchen equipment and meet with the gentleman who owns it, and really exciting.
Big job. What a big job, but what a beautiful building. I can see the potential. I hope you can see the potential too.
Okay, so we're on the ground floor.
Steve, where'd that come from?
Oh,
That's Steve, right here.
It's okay, Steve and I know.
Okay, so let's take a little look at the outside that we were looking at from the inside. There we go, that's the first portion built. And then the one wing, the next wing. And as you can see, even the bricks change colour. As we move into the most recent wing. Here's the old coach house they talked about. And the power plant. And there we go. An Electra. Got a fine old car. Idle no more, it says. Someone's obviously using this as a workshop of some kind, carving. Power in. Chapel. Magnificent. And of course we have to remember the beautiful, beautiful grounds that surround the mount. There are many wonderful outdoor activities that could be enjoyed by so many people in the beautiful array of cedars and maples. Gardens. Hard to see in wintertime exactly what that could look like. If it was a little imagination.